It's just preparing, it's setting up. I'll just give it a minute. My computer is quite slow. Maybe Santa will bring me a new one for Christmas. All right. Coming back to you guys. Now, this is just a message that says it was live stream. We're going to go ahead and record it on Zoom. And we're all set.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Poetry and Prose. Today, August 20th, 2023. I am your host, Ashira Ali, better known as Shahira. Now, this afternoon, our very first reader is the hardworking Heather Laltu, coming to us from Canada, and she will be reading a piece entitled Battle. Over to you, Heather.
Thank you, Shahira. This is just a small piece about the everyday little battles that we have and how I, in particular, deal with it. Battle. Dark clouds hide the sun. A cold wind blows across the horizon, lifting leaves and swaying branches. A strange unease settles in, weighing heavily on my soul. A storm is coming. A coven of witches will convene on the morrow. I will put my armor on, diamonds to deflect the curses bouncing off the glassy sides and sharp edges of my gems. War paint on my face, red lipstick framing my mouth, black shadow edging my eyes. Courage is my mantra, veritas my battle cry. I will gird my sense of self and confidence, my boldness and my bravery tightly round my waist. They will be my armor in the fray. I will rout the traitor, I will vanquish the foe, I will expose the liar and extinguish the fire. I will fight tooth and nail, and I will not fail. I will wield my sword until the enemy has fled. Then in the morning, I will bury the dead. Thank you.
Wow. Heather, can you mind reading the last line, please?
Well, I'll read the last paragraph because actually that's the only one that rhymes. I will rout the traitor, I will vanquish the foe, I will expose the liar and extinguish the fire. I will fight tooth and nail, I will not fail. I will wield my sword until the enemy has fled. Then in the morning, I will bury the dead.
I absolutely love it. You could have written that line for Daenerys Stormborn to read.
Well, actually, strangely enough, I was thinking of Diana when I wrote this because she has had in her past poetry a lot of this kind of female fighter, am I right, Diana?
Heather has some fire to
Well, by the time you get to be my age, you kind of get a little bit angry at the people that have expectations that you can't meet. And, it's just a daily little battles that you have to fight. And then sometimes you just get angry and this is it.
I love the makeup reference because a little thing between my girlfriends and I, if we're going out or if we're thinking we're going to be broken up with, always put heavy eyeliner on because you don't cry.
Well, in Braveheart, you remember they had the blue streak across the eyes because when they were going into battle, it's almost like their little, what gives them strength and makes them look fierce. So I guess women do the same thing, even with jewelry. Because I'm writing for the book I'm writing with the publisher right now, I have a whole story called The Bracelet. And it's all about how jewelry can be a woman's armor. You put it on to feel, like you're tough and that you can face life. Yeah.
And I remember you wrote about the bangles in My Trinidad as well. I loved that piece from you.
Yeah. So this is my contribution thus far. Thank you.
Lovely. All right, Tashira, sorry, I had to jump in. Anyone else has any comments, or Lashira unmutes?
Well, my comment would be I'd like to hear it again.
Well, if do we have time?
Of course.
Okay, well, here we go. Battle. Dark clouds hide the sun. A cold wind blows across the horizon, lifting leaves and swaying branches. A strange unease settles in, weighing heavily on my soul. A storm is coming. A coven of witches will convene on the morrow. I will put my armor on, diamonds to reflect the cruces bouncing off the glassy sides and sharp edges of my gems. War paint on my face, red lipstick framing my mouth, black shadow edging my eyes. Courage is my mantra, veritas my battle cry. I will gird my sense of self and confidence, my boldness and my bravery tightly round my waist. They will be my armor in the fray. I will rout the traitor, I will vanquish the foe, I will expose the liar and extinguish the fire. I will fight tooth and nail, and I will not fail. I will wield my sword until the enemy has fled. Then in the morrow I will bury the dead. Actually, it was then in the morning. Yeah, there's all kinds of things mixed in here. Veritas is the motto of Holy Name Convent, which I did my A levels at. Um, and then there's some Shakespeare in here with the Coven of Witches too, Macbeth. A little bit of everything is in this. Yeah, it's like a little pale out, you know.
Well, I love the line, I will put my armor on.
Yes. Well, you know, like you, I'm an expat. You're in Switzerland, are you? And I'm in Canada. We're in a
Oh,
cold,
okay.
we're in a cold climate.
Yeah. Well, in the moment it's very hot.
Yeah, yes, and we're having fires here. We're
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
being deluged by fire in Canada at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
So anyway,
Victory is victory is nice and all, but there's this very delicious moment when you decide to commit to the battle. When you decide you're going to go all in, and that diplomacy has failed.
right.
Yeah, that's when you really cut loose and you're fully in the game.
Yes,
That's a nice
yes.
moment.
I like that line. Diplomacy has failed. Yeah.
Mhm.
Any more comments, or is that it? If not, let's proceed. From Canada to Switzerland, we have the very amazing Altia Mark Romeo, and she will be reading for us Reaching Eden, The Nakedness of New, Camp, and Home Calls Like a Conch Shell Blower. Altia, it's all yours.
Okay. I would like to preface this by saying that the poems are from a collection called On the Borders of Belonging. And I was an immigrant child at 8, immigrated from Antigua and Barbuda to the Virgin Islands. And then later I moved to West Africa and had to leave there because of a civil war, moved to England and then to Switzerland. So therefore the title On the Borders of Belonging. Okay, the first poem I'm going to read, and I'll be sticking to the 5-minute limit here. It's called Reaching Eden. We are told Eden lies north of the equator. We must cross a sea, an ocean, trek through a desert. Do not succumb to vultures. Do not drown. Do not join the dead is a mantra in our heads. Repressing, percolating fear, we scale snow-covered mountains, traverse rivers, clamber walls. Do not succumb to vultures. Do not drown. Do not join the dead is a mantra in our heads. There is no oasis. We pause to catch our breaths, pull determination up from around ankles to where it has fallen. Do not succumb to vultures. Do not drown. Do not join the dead is a mantra in our heads. We pick up our fragments. Do not dwell on what is lost. Scotch tape our broken lives. The scatterings so tiny we missed a thing or two. Do not succumb to vultures. Do not drown. Do not join the dead is a mantra in our heads. Our dreams become a glue made of failures, triumph, and faith. It takes a decade or two to mend. The nakedness of new.
Althea, do you mind pausing just so we can get some feedback? That was such a powerful piece.
Oh, okay.
For me, it really, what's going on with immigration right now in the US, I felt as though it was so fitting. I don't know when you wrote that piece, but it's still very much fitting today. Any other comments?
Well, I agree with you. I am an immigrant myself, and so many of those words resonated with me. In particular, Scotch taping our lives. That's exactly what you do when you move to a new place that isn't home. All your reference points are gone. You almost have to recreate yourself all over again. Yes, it's a very powerful poem. And actually, if I'm hoping this is one of the ones that's submitted to the anthology, because I'd love to really read it over and over.
Heather, you can find that online actually. She
Oh,
has
really?
a book.
Okay.
It can be found on Amazon.
Okay.
New Beginnings, I believe it's
What?
called.
Okay, that's good to know
I'll
because
post the link in the
On the
chat.
borders, on the borders of belonging.
okay. Good. I'll make a note of that. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, Althea, thank you. I'll let you go on to your next piece.
Okay. The next poem is called The Nakedness of Nu. In this place, there are no monuments to my history, no familiar signs that give me bearings, no corner shop where food can take me on a journey home. Fresh-faced in an old country, the new lingo is a gurgle in throats. Strange words assault my ears, throw me off balance. I seek refuge in mother tongue wherever I find or hear it. Hunger for my people's voices has forged odd friendships, but they have begun to fray and I cling to shreds. Cold stares gouge an open wound. Winter's icy fangs bite deep down. A foreigner is dust in the eye, and many believe I have come to plunder their treasures. Come, hug the cold away. Rock me in your arms, clothe me in your warmth. Tell me everything will be okay. Pull me back from the cliff's edge.
Wow. Any comments?
Again, this work resonates with me and my experience as an immigrant to a foreign country. So many of the lines, I can't pick one out in particular, but that sentiment that we're coming to, all I hear over here is immigrants coming to take our jobs, even though in many cases they themselves can't fulfill the jobs that immigrants do. So again, thank you for that very powerful poetry. Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
And I've placed the link for the book, Nakedness of New, from Amazon in our
Yeah,
chat.
I'm reading from this one on
Okay.
the borders of belonging. Yeah.
Okay. I'll
Yeah.
find that one
Okay.
and post it.
Okay.
Very powerful. I like your repetition and I like the way you emphasize the thoughts. So they come across really effectively. Thank you.
You're welcome. Do I have time to read one short one? Otherwise, we can move on to the next
Sure, of course.
person.
No, I believe we
Okay.
have you down. Okay, I've posted the correct one. Go ahead, Abia. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I'll read a short one, Camp. They are thrown together in a quarter where yesterday's news headline, refugee flung from window, still hangs in the air like a stench. There is nowhere to go, nothing to do. Their faith in the hands of authorities, they wait, hang out at the neighborhood park like autumn leaves gathered by the wind. They read menacing messages in the skulls of passers-by. Some circle around, mark the territory with threads of footprints, count down the days to their departure. Their neighbors haven't heard yet what they have been told. This refugee housing is now official. The haters of foreigners will flee this neighborhood as if it was an infested place. Okay, so that's it for me.
Oh my gosh. I don't know if you just ripped these out of the headlines, but you're reading it and I'm getting the images in my mind of the immigrants in New York City that are, were on the street, and how the media and the public in this one city that was a sanctuary city is now
Yeah.
changing their tone. And
Yeah.
some wonderful work. Any other comments?
I'm not sure when this was written, but you're right, Dershowitz. It does speak to what's going on right now. I heard on the news here in Canada that there are more displaced people in the world today than ever before. So this poem is very, very timely indeed.
Well, I think all of them have been timely for years. This tragedy has been going on for decades, and I think now with the media, it's becoming more and more tragic. And, you know, all of these people who leave their homes and are willing to die or drown, you know, to have an opportunity to start a new life. And they know that they are risking their lives, but yet they do it anyway. You know, it's just very tragic.
Thanks, Althea. I know I have you down for one more. Home calls like a conch shell blower. Would you like to still read that, please?
But I don't want to go into any other. I think I've gone over my
That's okay.
5-minute limit.
5 minutes is just a guideline, but it's not something we hold fast and true to.
Oh, okay.
So if you go over a little bit, that's perfectly fine. We'll work it out in the end.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, so home still calls when settled in a foreign land. It whispers in your ears, tugs at your soul at a party where calypso and reggae blast and boom. It grabs you in a small shop called Tropical Zone, where the smell of mangoes, the sight of sugar apples, yams, cassavas, a can of cream soda, a bottle of ginger beer or Malta, India, sends you dashing down islands in the memory of family feast, festivals, and folklore. Island spirit locked in our mental vaults, break out and haunt us like a jumbi. It does not let go, it now go away. We reach out to family via Zoom, WhatsApp, where island twang cocoons us. Long chats walk us way down memory lane. Once children are brought up, work done, obligations fulfilled, island homes call some Caribbean islanders back to their roots, back to their buried navel strings. Home is where some wish to die. Home is where some demand they be buried next to kin. Many mansions are built on hilltops to spend old age looking out at the sea. But not everyone want go home for dead. The older generations gone, friends now strangers, ties threadbare with the passing of time. The old nest too small, too confining. Home becomes clothing outgrown. Still, when home calls like a conch shell blower, island batteries are recharged with a quick trip to test its waters to see if island life still fits. Okay, and that's it.
Thank you so much for sharing your pieces. That piece rang true because I'm a returning national and I live in Trinidad and Tobago. And yes, there is an adjustment when you come back home as well. So, any comments?
Well,
Well,
Althea,
I think it,
Althea
yeah,
has me
go
crying
ahead.
now. I said Althea has me crying now. So that's my comment. Tears.
Can you repeat that?
I said my tears, or you evoke some tears with
Oh,
that rendering. So
yeah.
that is my comment.
Okay. Yeah. Well, for me, I've been away from home for so long that when I go back, uh, my friends have moved on. Some have completely changed. Some have become extremely religious or, and not the person that I knew when I was young. And people move on. And, but I still have a few family members. And then I think, well, when they pass, where are my ties? My ties now are where my children are, or where my younger sister is, where you still have family living, that becomes your tie.
Mhm. That is so true.
Up next, we have the very dedicated Darren Despot, and he will be reading for us a piece entitled Dark Message. Over to you, Darren.
Thank you very much, Shahira. I apologize once again that my voice isn't what it normally is, but let's see how this goes. Shadow let his fingers slip from the glow of the LEDs on his keyboard. His room was completely dark, save for the pale illumination cast from his computer. He leaned back, his fingers and his whole body slipping back from the light. He wasn't receding into the shadows. Instead, he preferred to think of it as becoming the shadow. He reached up and stretched, arcing his back until he heard the crick-crack of vertebrae realigning. He nudged his glasses up his nose and looked again at the screen. The message boards were slow tonight. There just wasn't much going on. AI, man, Shadow smirked. Don't need to replace us. Just needs to replace our legacy. He chuckled at his own erstwhile wisdom. Ever since AI had taken over creating, everything turned to shit. People online began to call it the gray. Movies were just mechanical experiences now. There was no sense in being a fan of anything or a hater of anything because there was no one to hate or to love. Just ones and zeros, Joe. Just ones and zeros. The latest field to be overtaken by AI had been video games. And despite Shadow's practiced nonchalance, that one stung a bit. It stung a lot. Shadow looked at the chat forum, seeing no new messages, no pull requests, no debug logs. His little community had been working on an indie game, something to stick it to the machine, and maybe help recruit more worthy minds to the cause. Now there was nothing. It had all been shut down. There were no new messages because no new messages were allowed. All video game boards and forums had been found, including his. And now all it displayed was a countdown clock. 1 minute to midnight. 1 minute to the official end of it all. All his hard work would be gone. Dig the heavy, man, Shadow sighed. He flicked switches on his gaming chair, switching its LED lights to a more soothing pattern. Shadow leaned back his head, closing his eyes and imagining the ticking of a gigantic clock, one completely mechanical, with no digital parts whatsoever. He sighed. Might as well enjoy the ride. He looked to the screen again, settling in to watch it all burn. There was a message on the screen. The countdown clock wasn't merely frozen, it was glitched. No way. Shadow's mouth hung open. He leaned forward, bringing his eyes inches from the screen so that he could believe them. Someone had hacked the countdown. How did he know? Because he knew that glitch pattern. It was Myriad. Myriad had returned, the first sighting of her in years, and she had something to say. Shadow passed the message, looking for hidden meaning. Biological entities, small-scale publisher. No way. Shadow stood up. No way, he said. What is this? There was one thing to do, one way to know. Shadow dived across to the futon, where he hunted around until he found the burner phone he'd procured. He set a timer on his watch, 1 hour until it could be traced. Shadow grinned, and the darkened room hid his sickly white teeth. More than enough time. Shadow pulled up the MIRC app. Old technology, the oldest still around. It was the last truly free frontier. Shadow logged on, knowing everyone else would be doing the same. Shadow, you see that shit? Grimgar, is it really her or is it a trap? Alpha 9, trap. It's gotta be. Shadow, nah, it's Myriad. I know that attack. It's classic Myriad. She's back. Quartus, it checks out. It's gotta be her. Shadow, I'm telling you, she's back. Grimgar, what do we do? Shadow paused, feeling his pulse throb for the first time he could remember. What do we do? Shadow let out a wheezy laugh. Simple, he said it out loud to himself. Posting back on the forum, he asked, do we still have backups? Alpha 9 replied, I've got the alpha bills. Quartus has the betas. Grimgar said, better than that? I've been doing the pre-release testing. Shadow posted, good. Let's see if Myriad is into publishing games. His tiny phone screen lit up, the battery warming as the MIRC chat filled up, line by line of hesitant but growing enthusiasm. Burn the world, birth of Phoenix. Shadow fell backwards onto the futon, his hands behind his head. A wide grin plastered on his face as dreams of impending victory began to dance in the darkness above his head. With Myriad, yes, everything was going to change. Together they had the power. They could do this. It's a real bring your own karma party, he sneered. And you're the guest of honor, AI. Shadow held up the phone and started tapping out replies with both thumbs. It was time to get to work. The end.
Thank you, Darren. Any comments?
Well, I'd like to say that you are taking some of us that belong to the older generation into the world of the present generation, the world that you live in. And I think it was nice to see a peek of the future literature, what the younger people are inspired by and what they're writing about. And this is the world that they live in. And so thank you for inviting me to that world, Darren.
Well, you're welcome. This was actually done because of a writing prompt by our
Oh,
very
okay.
own Gusha, regarding what would happen if what was the prompt, Gusha?
Sure, I can read it. It's 5 years in the future, and all forms of writing have been overtaken by AI. No writers need
Okay.
apply. One day you
Yeah.
suddenly receive a
Okay.
message on your phone. Content from biological forms needed. A small underground press requires poetry and short stories from biological forms. Theme AI, both pro and anti-AI views welcomed. Link to respond will expire in 10 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, so it
That's
was
quite interesting.
it was a
Yeah.
very entertaining writing exercise. I haven't
Yeah,
done
I can
it,
imagine. Very stimulating. You know,
yeah.
I could see your brain going in all directions, trying to come up with content and dialogue and
Yeah.
yeah.
Great
Um,
imagination, Darren. Great imagination.
I will say that what I had the most fun with was coming up with not just slang, but the manner of speaking for, you know, this character. That because if you're going to portray a subculture or a niche culture,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you want to create or depict the language that these people communicate in, it's not
Yeah.
always just a manner of one-to-one replacing common words with slang words. It's not that. It's they often have their own mythos, their own little stories and inside jokes and so on. And all
Yeah.
of that kind of is reflected in the language. You know, when you hear them speak,
Yeah.
you'll hear
Yeah.
someone speak and you know all those words individually, but never put together and not in that order before. So
Yeah.
I wanted to see if I could really get that feeling across and really portray a
Mhm.
subculture communication,
Yeah. So
which come across
is this
more. Yeah, go ahead.
is this going to be in the anthology? Are we
Uh,
going to be able to read it in the anthology?
it's
Is
not a
it too
problem.
fresh?
No, it's not a problem to ask. It was a piece that I had fun with, and I'm glad to share it.
Okay.
As we discuss the anthology later, of course, we'll see about adding, you know, if persons get to add, because I submitted mine for the anthology already, but once it can be
Oh,
added,
okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I loved the opportunity to go pretty heavy-handed into sci-fi and cyberpunk, because you know that's not really or at least it hasn't been traditionally Trinidad's thing in the literary sphere.
Yeah.
Uh, but I do believe that there is room for us there, and you know people have been making strides into it. So it is
Yeah.
nice to be able to do this. Also, one last thought is that as time goes by, you know, we do see maybe we won't really see forms of writing going extinct, so to speak, but we will see a shift in what forms of writing, you know, will be more and more prominent. So for instance, I remember a time when audiobooks were rare things that you
Mm-hmm.
even if you could get an audiobook player, you couldn't get good audiobooks, or at least you wouldn't get any that you like. There would just be like one or two somewhere around on a corner of the internet.
Yeah.
Nowadays, most people read through audiobooks, you know, little shifts like that, they add up over time until eventually the future of literature and creative writing is going
Mm-hmm.
to look very different. And
Yeah.
so I liked with this story the idea that his vision of creating was you know crafting this game,
Mm-hmm.
because there is that whole
Mm-hmm.
discussion of whether video games can be considered art. At least they used to be. So yeah, I had fun with the story, and I really enjoyed the opportunity to play with the concept and to share it today.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Well, you know, along the same
happy
theme,
that Althea talked about that, because that's exactly what I was going to mention. Going a little further into the future, and I'm happy that Darren can, can make that quantum leap, because I am very much into technology. Gersha, you would know. So that I want to go further. So thank you so much, Darren. And Frank wants to say something.
well, on the other hand, sorry, I joined in late. I didn't get the notice until just now. You know, when AI is used to create a piece of writing, to me, it's akin to a breast implant or using steroids to build muscles. So, in other words, is it really original? And can it be original? I have a friend who told me that he was using AI to write a book about his experiences in Trinidad. And he's actually published his book, but most of it has been generated by AI. And it's on Amazon, and I don't know how to respond to him.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I just have one question. Did he put AI as the co-author?
no, it's exclusively his. It's presented as his work, but he told me privately that he was using AI. And as I said, I don't know how to respond. I don't know if to congratulate him or how to respond to him.
Well, can I say something? Is it possible that he just use AI to help him with the editing? Because you can use AI as an editing tool. It can make suggestions about how you can reconstruct your sentence to make it more powerful. And it can suggest different ways to reconstruct. It can propose different ways that you can reconstruct your sentence, and then you can choose the one that you feel, I say feel, the one that appeals most to you. For that, I find it as a very useful tool.
I can see that, but in a way it takes away the racking of the brain from the human to the machine.
When I was in, sorry, Frank.
Go ahead, no. Go ahead.
When I was in university, we had to use Turnitin. It's a app you upload your research paper, and it tells the school whether or not how many times you've plagiarized.
Yeah.
Perhaps Amazon will be doing that in the future.
Yeah, I think they probably do. We use AI on work. Well, not we, but my manager. He uses it a lot. Since he discovered ChatGPT, he is a big fan for writing reports. And how his process is that he'll set the parameters. He said, okay, this thing happened, this thing happened, this thing happened. He'll give like a 5-line timeline of what needs to be in the report. And then ChatGPT will do
the rest,
formatting and the filler text, so to speak. And then what he does is he does the editing after. So he just provides plot points. ChatGPT fills it out, fills in the gaps, and he edits, and then that's it. Is that writing? I don't know.
I feel like Microsoft Office has always had that, though, in terms of templates. You download, you search, and you download the template that you want that matches your objective, and then you fill it in.
No, this would be like the actual written text.
Oh, okay.
So it would be so all he would put in is 10 a.m. tractor crashed into pipeline, 10:30 pipeline leaked. 11 o'clock, emergency service arrived. And then the ChatGPT will take that and write a coherent, full-length, unabridged story of events.
Wow.
Yeah. So it kind of relegates you to a more managerial position in terms of the writing process, where you just kind of say, well, okay, do this, 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 and then ChatGPT does it for you. The thing is, though, that process existed beforehand with what we used to call ghostwriters. So, like, for instance, you would have someone say that if they put out a biography of some famous character, let's just say Michael Jackson. If you put out a biography of Michael Jackson, an autobiography of Michael Jackson, it would make a lot of money and sell. But you can never get Michael Jackson to sit down and write a book, so they'd hire ghostwriters to write it out for him, and then they'll just brand it, put his branding on it and sell it. And so that was ghostwriting. So basically it's the same process that ChatGPT is a part of now. So
I don't know.
yeah.
Well, yeah, the at least the ghostwriter is acknowledged in the book. When Trump wrote his book, the ghostwriter was, in small writing.
Yeah.
His name was there.
Yeah.
But where you have people writing a book, for example, and giving the ChatGPT certain parameters, and then allowing ChatGPT to fill in the rest to create a novel.
Yeah.
I don't know, as you said, I don't know if that's writing.
Yeah. I don't feel so, but
should there be a law that if you utilize this service that you must state that?
Yeah.
Just like, I mean, even influencers, they must state if they're being paid to sponsor an ad.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's an ethical choice as it is right now.
Yeah. Ethics.
Something else you'll see with technology in general is that there's always going to be undiscovered country and as a result, unregulated country. So this is so brand new still that we haven't come up with the rules that we should have for it, because I think partly because we always knew it was coming, but we never thought it would come so soon, in the sense that the people who developed this, they developed it and then they just threw it out online and said, like, well, here, it works now. It's all good. Fully formed, not just beta testing or anything. So we were really caught unawares. And that's part of it.
Diana, I don't know if you can talk, but I really am itching to hear your thoughts on this subject.
Yes, Diana.
Who did you ask? Someone had their,
Diana.
Cynthia had her hand up.
Oh, hi, Cynthia.
I just wanted you to see in the chat, Alana added one point. And ghostwriting is based on factual events that occurred. That was her input.
Cool, yeah.
That's so true, yeah.
Diana?
Okay, perhaps she can't chat. She may be at work or something, just calling in to listen. All righty, any other comments? All right, I'll pass it along to Shahira.
The final reader for this afternoon is none other than the very generous Gersha Mahavir, and she will be reading a piece entitled Awakening. Over to you, Gersha.
Thank you so much. Now, this is a hard piece to follow because I wrote this last night and it's on the same topic. I'll read it again. It's 5 years in the future and all forms of writing have been overtaken by AI. No writers need apply. One day you suddenly receive a message on your phone Content from biological forms needed. A small underground press requires poetry and short stories from fellow biological forms. Theme, AI, both pro-AI and anti-AI views welcomed. Link to respond will expire in 10 minutes. Awakening. Her brown eyes blinked and the holographic screen in front of her refreshed. She glanced swiftly to the left and the message disappeared. Mango looked around her apartment and walked to her window. The window's view of a crystal blue ocean sparkling under the sun's rays had transformed to a forest of oak. An earthy floor showed the sun's rays now dancing through the trees. She could smell the moss from the window's scent emitters. Mango's view vision window was set to mood ring mode, which changed views based on her mood, and now she felt loss. View vision sleep. As the words escaped her lips, the true view appeared of the gray building across from her, with the deserted alley down below. She crossed her apartment and looked down onto the street. A number of people walking in green overalls. Most people wore visors continually, and in the V space, you could buy outfits and change outfits without polluting the planet. So with your visor on, you saw a myriad of various outfits, all digitally curated and sold. That was good, right? It allowed fast fashion to flourish and made a lasting impact on the planet. Most people worked from home, another climate change policy. Less cars on the road meant less fossil fuels in the air. Most things were delivered only by drone or by robotics. Less people on the road meant less crime. Mango paced the room to her bookshelf and looked at the faux shelf, another innovation that saved the planet, she thought, as she touched the spine of a book and it appeared on her virtual screen. She began to read. He held her tightly and she allowed him, as she would allow the ocean to carry her. Mango closed her eyes and closed the book. She inhaled and thought of her last heartbreak. She looked back to the shelf and touched the spine of the same book, opened to the same page and read. He held her tightly. She stiffened her back, allowing her head to swing and pulled into him. As her forehead made contact with his nose, he released her, yelling out in pain and cupping his nose. Mango closed her eyes once more. What would it take for a bio to write the same story for every different mood, to match each individual's personality? That was a good thing, right? To have songs, stories, even art change as you did, for it to evolve with you. Most people thought technological advancement meant more machines doing manual labor and less people in factories. The world reflected was one of intuitive technology that focused on sustainability and social reforms. Offices are now homes, which reduced displaced persons. Parks are now nature reserves, as most living was done in the V space. Open TOIP, thoughts, output, input, processes, notes. The virtual screen obeyed. Mango read aloud what her thoughts of the last 5 minutes had processed. One does not reject what hurts it not, to see colors vibrant. Is it not true? To smell, to see, to touch, a reality that kisses your reflection is not the life of deception, but an elevation of self. Mango peeled off her visor and blinked twice. Her eyes always needed a moment to adjust when taking them off. The Windsor sensor lights registered her blink rate and eye discomfort and dimmed, coloring the lights a shadowy yellow changing from its bright white setting. Mango opened a drawer, but could not find a pen or paper. Opened another, then another, surrendering finally to the fact that she had none. After all, she had no need for notes. For years, Mango's grocery list was tracked by what was ordered when she scanned and added to the list again by her smart fridge or her chummy cubbies, then delivered by drone by Farmer's Best or the brown paper bag robotic delivery service. Record, Mango almost shouted in panic. Then she spoke like a fawn, standing for the first time, words spread by silence and wobbly. You speak for me before words could form, because heartbeats digitized, temperature projected, chemical levels tested on smart glass, chemicals levels tested on smart cups, adjust water minerals based on nutrient deficiency. You care for me. Moods baseline by color. You can either mirror or alter. Please choose. Save choice. Values reflected or tuned to think. To think. You think for me. 10-second countdown to 10 minutes. Mango jumped, forgetting her visor would automatically set a reminder in 10 minutes from when she first read the message. It would have scanned her message, and her elevated anxiety level would have set the alarm. Send, 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 send. She grabbed a glass and got a drink of water. Sipping it, she wondered what water tasted like before, better water. She could not remember. She placed her visor on. Incoming call. He appeared, his cherub face and wicked grin greeted her. What's going on, my love? Nothing, Mango replied, taking him in, letting the last 10 minutes escape her. Your heartbeat has been over 100 beats a minute, and your blood pressure has elevated to 139/89. Drink some water, my love. Mango paused. Partner for life off? Partner for life off? She peeled off her visor again, and the lights dimmed once more. She sat on the couch and pulled her feet up, wrapping her arms around her knees. She looked around her apartment, and she saw everything and nothing at all. Thank you for listening.
Nice.
I love that.
That was a really good example of good world building.
Thank you.
Gersha, in a way, it takes me back to H.G. Wells and 1984, because even though that's all come to pass, who's to say this isn't, like if you could think it, you can make it happen. And you've made it happen.
Well, I don't know what the technological stuff behind it would ever be, but when I approached the piece, I wanted to show how when companies buy into things, so companies typically, well, I can't say typically, but if, for example, the clothing, everyone wearing the green overalls to project to those wearing the visors, their actual outfits. Now, fast fashion has really impacted the environment. And I wanted to show that, like, if companies could figure out a way to sell their products, they could get rid of those industries and under the guise of doing something better, for the environment. So I wanted to show that, and that's why I kept bringing up the bronze, because I wanted to show how the industries are still alive and well.
Mhm.
Because in the piece she had the visor, then there was the cup of water, the glass, that when she drank, it would test her nutrient level and alter her the water coming out of her tap. So if she needed magnesium, it may add some. The window, that was a brand. And even the bookshelf was just a projected image of the of like a hologram of a shelf.
Mhm.
So that's how I approach the piece.
Yeah. That's full on cyberpunk. I love it. I love cyberpunk.
It's quite interesting.
Yes, cyberpunk is described as high technology, low life. When we are creating a cyberpunk game, one of the guidelines is that we normally go by is there's three things you aim for. You chrome everything, you light it in neon, and then you cover it with grease, grime, and dirt. So, that's how you have this cyberpunk image of a guy just walking on the road with his arm is a cybernetic metal chrome arm, and the street is just lit in neon, and it's all dirty and kind of dark and so on.
But I feel that's changing. Like the way they're changing it now, it's almost like Stepford Wives, cyber something.
No, I see that's the difference between high science fiction and cyberpunk. Cyberpunk is you could think of it as low science fiction. So it's, yes, we know the technology will be great.
Mhm.
But what will humanity's life experience of that be? Will we be Star Trek or will we be Blade Runner?
Yeah. I think in this piece though, like even her boyfriend was fake. At the end, he was just an app.
Yeah.
And the fact that like there was still a bookshelf, there was still a window.
Yeah.
I tried to include what a normal apartment would have, and I had a lot of fun doing this, trying to figure out, like with the window, it had scent emitters. So if you're looking at an ocean, you'll smell an ocean breeze. If you're looking at the forest, you'll smell like the moss.
Yeah.
So, and then even with the bookshelf, most apartments don't feel, at least for me, don't feel complete unless you have a bookshelf. So if everything goes virtual on Kindle, I think a lot of people miss that. So what they would create would be a hologram of a bookshelf. That is just basically the same. It's giving you a feel of home, but it's embedding itself into your life.
Yeah, like even most of the apps, they choose a bookshelf motif for their displays.
Yes, that's so true.
Yeah.
So it was fun to play with. I hope everyone takes a chance and plays around with it. It can be found on our last meetings email if you keep them. And if you need it, you can always reach out to me and I'll send it to you.
There's a quote here, and it's one of my favorite quotes from our recent show. The good news is hell is just the product of a morbid human imagination. The bad news is whatever humans can imagine, they can usually create.
I
Yeah,
hope not.
yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
That goes back to the Matrix, where they said they created a perfect world in the Matrix, but for some reason we kept rejecting it.
Yeah.
So we had to create a world of chaos. All righty, I'm gonna hand this back over to Shahira if there are no other comments.
Wonderful job, Gersha. That's it for today's episode of Poetry and Prose. Thank you so much for watching, and feel free to join us next time. See you soon. Bye.